أهلا بجولات عربية. أنا مشعل تمام. I couldn't believe it at first. I thought it was a mistake. But يعني very grateful, honestly, very grateful that, you know, we have support like this from also like the existence of places like in things like Billboard Arabia, for example. Like this would not have been possible 5 years ago. It's possible today, and it's only going to grow. But to be even a part of that, I'm honored and grateful. I think I attribute a big part of that, صراحة, to the new generation of Saudi kids. Because when I was growing up, I'll be honest with you, I felt like an outcast. I didn't relate to the people around me, and they didn't relate to me. But now, the new generation is growing up, and يعني, for once in my life, I feel I belong. Even Saudi Arabia is changing completely, home is changing completely, and now I belong. I've always kept it in. It's not really choosing songs. And I started with music at first, just writing and even producing and stuff. It's more like I'm not a singer that chooses a song. I'm just a person that expresses my feelings using songs. I'll be honest with you, bro. Like, let's say the new song now, Baba Fan, came out. I made this in 2019. The songs that I made, the songs that are coming out now, I was not having in my mind to even ever anybody to hear them aslan. It was just literally for me. And it was, a lot of them were made even before I saw myself as wanting to be an artist or a singer or whatever. It was just my way of expressing myself. And there was never even a time when the song is ready, if that even exists. It's just a matter of, does this feel how I feel? Does this make me feel better? Does, like, when I put, like, let's say I finish the song, I finish it for me to listen to it. Not to put it on Spotify or العربية. This has been existing, this song, for example, with me for years. It worked for me. And if you're an artist now, which many of us are nowadays, let's go. It's changing. Don't overthink it. Don't try to appeal to anybody except for yourself. At the end of the day, the song comes from you. And if it works for you, if it makes you feel better, it will do the same for somebody else. This is something I strongly believe in. And something will never change. When you feel it down, I tell you telling a lie. It feels weird. It's always a shock, صراحة, because like you said, the things I talk about sometimes in the songs are very personal or like very specific. And I think no one's going to understand what I'm talking about, or no one's going to get it. But people do. People are smarter than you think. And not just that, everybody goes through things, and everybody has a version of themselves that they don't share with anybody. But this version of themselves that they don't share with anybody, they could find in a song or a movie or a book or a painting that will speak to that part of them that they don't share with the world. This is the truest part of you. That's why music is so important, or any art is so important, because it shows who you really are. It gets rid of the past, it gets rid of any misconceptions, and shows the pure form of who we are as human beings. If there's no other way for us to connect as a species, it's gotta be art. And we've been doing it and connecting through it for as long as we existed. If you're an artist, be proud of yourself. It's a beautiful thing. My mama said, take your time and just enjoy. I think the biggest difference is people, at least for Saudi or in the Arab world, where it was hard to have, like, before to enter. Now they feel like what we're all doing right now here, we're in the creative field. Creative field before was, it's either going to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer. It was tough. That's why also the song Baba Fan talks about this. My father would tell me, like, if you're going to be a clown, when I wanted to be a musician, he'd be like, oh, you're going to be a clown. Now he says, if you're going to be a clown, you better be the best. Things are changing, man. You can go into the creative field. And from the Arab perspective, they see that, I think, more than people outside. People outside just look at the art part of it, and that's beautiful, and that helps them with their life and difficulties, or maybe even encourages them to be who they are, and that's beautiful. But as an Arab person, please understand that home is changing is not only Saudi Arabia. Home is changing is an entire region that is going through a cultural shift. And that's because of the young people. That's because of this new generations. Maybe I'm scratching at the surface of some empathy. If I live 1,000 lives and each one I always die. Because we're sick of the fake stuff, honestly. In a world where you had social media become exploded throughout our generations, صح? And then now even people growing up with it. You're exposed to people putting up a front image of who they are and all these different brands and all these different things. It's refreshing to see reality, because that's something we're losing touch with. We're losing touch with reality. Someone says a story in the media, and then you can paint a whole country with this story. It's not the truth. It's not reality. Today, it's more important than ever to actually go and see firsthand, because there's so much nonsense online. Maybe that's why, at least for me, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for a whole generation. I only can speak for myself. As Mish'al, that's how I feel. That's why we need it now more than ever. And even if people are gravitating towards more authenticity and genuine, real, music and real figures, not trying to be anything but who they are, that's just because we crave to be back in touch with reality, with what's real in our world, not what we see on our phone, but what we see with our eyes when we look outside. That's what really matters.
Calling for a light of judgment, tell me that you've done your best, crushing all my favorite.
Mish'al is the same. You're just gonna actually see me. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not afraid to talk about things. I'm not afraid to show who I am. I'm not afraid to tell my story. And however someone wants to interpret that story, I don't care. كلم. مين بيكلم؟ كلم. I don't care. This is me.
Some days I just feel so tired. The world has all gone mad.
You have the 5 discs. Each 5 discs corresponds to a chapter. Chapter 1 is the deep. This is what I called when, and it's the deep because you're down there. This is when I went to New York, or when things also in parallel started opening up here in Saudi. We went right to the deep. And sometimes that can feel overwhelming. Sometimes that can feel like, oh my God, I can't see anything anymore. It's so deep. It's almost dark. And everyone's afraid of the dark in one way or another. That's why it's called the deep. But what happens when you're down there? What's the thing that gets you out? You connect here. And that's disc 2, chapter 2, the heart. So you connect to that. You find magic in that. You find love in that. Life doesn't go like this. You're climbing out of that hole, but you're not going to climb out every day better than the day before, every day better than before. La habibi. The heartbreak is chapter 3. Because life goes like this. And if you're lucky, you can make it if you push effort every day and try hard to improve every day and grow a little bit every day. You can make it like this. Where although you have ups and downs, you're still going up, man. So keep it up. And that's why keep it up is also in chapter 3, the heartbreak. It's a reminder, bro. It's telling you and this is a reminder for me, Annie. You have to keep in mind this album was not for you. This was made for me. It was to help me get through life, to help me get through the biggest obstacle in life, which is myself, my brain. And that's some things you don't have to talk to anyone about. You don't have to that's why music is important. You don't have to talk to anyone. You just put it in your ears and it talks to you. So chapter 3, the heartbreak, it was a crash, and it's longer even than the heart because it affected me a lot more than the heart. More music came out of it because it was such a potent time in my life, but it led to something very special. One day, I was really feeling lonely or something, and then all of a sudden, I felt okay with being alone. I felt like I could see the sun again. I'm no longer in the deep. I'm just reaching the surface. Because although you have this and you're down here, you get to that point where you will feel a slight shift, like a breakthrough almost, where you start seeing the rays of sunshine, the tiny light at the end of the tunnel. That's chapter 4. That's disc 4. That's the dream. Dream has songs like Baba Fan, which inspires hope. If you'll be a clown, Mish'al, you better be the best. And I'm working hard on a Sunday. Don't you go chasing the sun, Solaire. Solaire is a video game character. If you just look up on YouTube now, put pause on the video. Solaire, then suicide prevention, or Solaire depression, or Solaire Dark Souls. And then you'll understand it. Then pause, and then you can come back to the video if you want a little homework on what Solaire is. But that's an Easter egg there for a specific reason. Every little detail on this album has its purpose. Every little word has its meaning. Sometimes 2 meanings, sometimes 3. And what that meaning is up to you. What happens after the dream is the final chapter. The more I'd work on myself, the more I'd actually go back to how I was as a child. And I say this in the album, in the return, actually. Like, we go on this big circle in life only to find ourselves in the same place where we began, but looking at it through a whole new perspective. The return for me was that realization. It defined me as a human being, and it brought out the inner child in me, the one that sees the world with excitement, with wonder, or the magic that it is. You can see the world, you can't look at it through looking from your phone. You got to go outside, put those earphones on, go outside, look at the sunlight, look at the night right before the dawn, and see that, hey, that's why the first track is Back from the Deep. If you're a real deep fan, if you've seen my interviews, you know what that really means, to be back from the deep. And man, if I can be back from there, anyone can. Doesn't matter how dark it gets down there in the deep place. You can keep going and you will find yourself returning. Inshallah, not in the surface, but even further up in the sky, flying like Superman.
To be so loud, there are only 2 doors down.
بس أقول لك don't give up. الحياة ما هو كله ظلام. في شمس يا سولير، في شمس. ولا شيء يروح زي كده، وكمان ولا شيء يروح زي كده، أو ولا شيء يروح زي كده في الحياة فوق، وكمان ولا شيء يروح زي كده تحت. ف don't give up. إذا أنت هنا في العميق وما تريد تشوف شيء وما في لمبة، ما في هوب، الدنيا كلها ظلام، don't give up. عشان الحياة صراحة، الحياة بالحقيقة زي كذا. وإذا تحاول كل يوم تكون شوية أحسن من اليوم اللي قبل، إن شاء الله حيكون زي كذا. فلما تلاقي نفسك هنا في العميق، just keep it up. وإن شاء الله مع الوقت الشيء حيتغير. عشان الحياة حقنا، وآسف العربي حقي شوية مكسرة، بس الحياة حقنا كل مرة قاعدة تتغير، وإحنا كمان نتغير. كده الحياة لا don't end it too soon. خلي القصة يتكمل. وأنا ما أعرف مين أنت صراحة، بس أحبك يا أخي، أنت زي بني آدم، كمل. وإذا حد قاعد يتكلم، مين بيكلم؟ كلم، خليهم. حياتك أنت يا أخي، قصتك أنت، فكمل.